your WXXV News 25 forecast first.
Showers and thunderstorms back in the forecast for the first time in nearly a month. As we head through Halloween and into November, we'll take a look at some of those showers and thunderstorms approaching the viewing area, who's seen rain already, who will see it through the night, and of course what it looks like heading into a new month. Will we see more rainfall, or will we be just as dry heading into November? That's your forecast first. WXXV Vote Election Special starts right now.
The moment is almost here. Election Day in South Mississippi. And the stakes couldn't be higher. You, the voters, are determined to make a difference. Stand in long lines to cast your ballot and make sure your voice will be heard. No matter who walks away with a win, you, the voters, are stepping up to be part of democracy. The real power is in your hands. Our special pre-election day coverage starts right now on your local election headquarters. This is WXXV News 25, Election 2024.
We are just days away from Decision Day. You, the voters, are preparing to cast your ballots in important races that will help shape the future of our communities, our state, and our nation for the rest of this decade. Thank you for joining us tonight on this special hour-long broadcast of WXXV News 25. Over the course of this hour, we're talking to local and statewide candidates that will appear on your ballot next week. We hope that these discussions give you a better sense on where the candidates stand on the issues. We start tonight with a look at the state of the presidential race, a campaign season that has been history-making in more ways than one. We're going to a live look from the District of Columbia now, the White House specifically. The polls are showing a neck-and-neck race. We're going to be checking in now with the candidates in their own words as the fight for the White House continues. The economy at the front of mind for many voters. Here's where Donald Trump and Kamala Harris stand on economic policy.
Reining in Biden's wasteful and unnecessary spending is vital to stopping inflation and rescuing our economy from ruin, and maybe even lower your taxes, although we did give you the biggest tax reduction in history and the biggest regulation reduction in history, two things I'm very proud of. But we need to get this economy straightened out as fast as possible. We're headed down a very dangerous path. When I'm back in the White House, I will immediately unleash energy production, slash regulations like I did just 3 years ago, and repeal Biden's tax hikes to get inflation down as fast as possible, and it will go quickly, so that interest rates can get back under control. I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. In fact, I did it twice when you think about it, and now we will have to do it again. Thank you very much.
I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need, and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy. His would make them weaker. I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page, people are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that.
You know, with so much happening in the final days of this election season, it can be hard to follow exactly what's happening in the home stretch. We're joined now in studio by Charles Richardson and Howie Morgan to break it all down. And gentlemen, first off, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so Charles, I'll direct the first question to you. I mean, this race, like I said at the top of the broadcast, history making in more ways than one, and it's tight.
Tell you what, it's a lot different from what we thought it would be 6 months ago, for sure. And it's tight. I don't know if anybody knows exactly what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a gender election. Right now, all the polls are showing that women are for her and men are for him, and we'll just kind of have to see how it turns out.
Yeah, and Howie, when it comes to the states that people need to look out for, Mississippi is typically considered a safe state for the Republicans on the federal level, but there are states, even in our region, that could be considered swing states on the national scale.
Well, I'm really interested to see what happens in North Carolina. It's the first state that will probably report. And if what we see is happening in other parts of the country, where women are coming out in strong numbers, just dominating the early vote, is that good for Kamala Harris or not? It'd be interesting to see where the first state comes in, North Carolina, if she wins that state. If she does, it could be a pretty good night for her. Now, if she doesn't, it could be a long night for us.
Well, if she wins, then I think it's over, personally, because I think she's going to get Michigan, I think she's going to get Wisconsin, and then it doesn't matter if she gets Pennsylvania or anything else. All she needs is Nevada or Arizona.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be very interesting to see where Georgia goes, what the turnout's going to be. This is a turnout election. I mean, people are really decided. It's the candidates haven't, neither candidate is a very good candidate, let's be honest. I mean, Trump stays off message all the time. Kamala Harris has proved to be not a very good candidate 4 years ago. She's better now, but she's not, I would say, she's not Bill Clinton.
She's certainly not Clinton or Obama.
That's for sure. So it's going to be a long night, could be a long night, could be a long week. Don't forget, Pennsylvania did not change the rules, and they're still not counting the ballots when the polls close. And I think 7-10 days could be in Pennsylvania.
Well, one thing about Pennsylvania, though, they are at least able to open the ballots now before the polls close. Last time they couldn't open the ballots until the polls closed, which elongated the early vote totals and the mail-in ballots. And now I think people are more accustomed to the mail-in ballots and early voting, which is why we've seen over 60 million people already vote this year.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people are interested to find out. When will this race be called? I mean, of course, we can't know for sure, but in 2020, I think it was Saturday when the race was called, and Election Day was on a Tuesday, as it always is. So
I'm expecting this to be over by Wednesday or Thursday, pretty early.
Yeah, I'm curious, do you guys think it's going to be a very close race? Do you think there are any surprises in store?
I think that it's going to be, 4 years ago, I sat right here on TV and I predicted the election. I bragged about it because I was right. Right now, I have zero clue who's going to win. It is just absolutely neck and neck. It's all about the turnout. And with all the numbers being so close, Trump's doing better than he was 4 years ago. She's not doing as well. But again, they won last time. So what's it going to be this time?
Well, but I also think a lot of the polling errors have corrected themselves. And in my mind, she's either going to win 5 to 6 of the 7 swing states, or he's going to win 4 of the 7. And if he wins 4, he wins. If she wins 5, she obviously wins.
Lots to talk about. I could go on for hours with you guys, but of course we are going to move on in this broadcast. Don't worry though, we'll be checking in with the two of you as we end the broadcast. Gentlemen, thank you though for sharing your insights.
Always.
Yeah. While the presidential race is the top item on your ballot this year, there are other races that you'll see that are just as important when it comes to voting for the person you think will represent the best in the chambers of Congress. 1/3 of U.S. Senate seats are up for election this year, including one seat here in South Mississippi. Incumbent Republican Roger Wicker is looking to represent the Magnolia State for another 6 years in the upper chamber. He faces a challenge this year from Democrat Ty Pinkins. Over in the House, the lower chamber, incumbent Republican Congressman Mike Ezell is seeking a second term representing the 4th Congressional District after unseating incumbent Representative Stephen Palazzo 2 years ago in the Republican primary. Running against Ezell this year is Democrat Craig Raybon. And Congressman Mike Ezell stopped by our studios earlier this week to talk about his priorities if South Mississippi voters send him back to Washington for another 2 years. Here's more from our conversation. By Congressman Mike Ezell, representing the 4th District of Mississippi. Congressman, it's good to see you.
Glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. So you're running for your second term in the House now. This is your opportunity to tell Mississippi voters, especially South Mississippi voters, your platform and priorities for the next term if you are reelected and sent back to Congress. So what are some of the things that you want to focus on in a new Congress? Well,
first of all, we've got to secure the southern border. Our southern border has been wide open now for 3.5 years, and we've had so many problems as a result of that. Crime has gone just rampant all over the country. We've got to get that under control. We've got to take back our streets that have been taken away from so many of our bigger cities around the country. Thank goodness we have good, safe streets in South Mississippi. We work hard every day with our police force. Second thing I really want to focus on is our economy. The Biden administration has just wrecked our economy. I mean, just look at where we are now. Inflation's rampant. You know, the price of a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread is expensive. People are trying to figure out how to either fill up their car or either put food on the table. You know, we've got to continue to fight these tax regulations that are on us. We need to work hard to keep the Trump tax cuts in place. So I'll be working with fellow members of Congress to try to hold these taxes down, keep these tax cuts in place that President Trump put in several years ago, so that we can get our economy stimulated, we can get this economy moving again, so we can get the jobs going.
Yeah, and how have you been feeling, especially talking to Mississippi voters? You know, are these some of the issues they've brought up with you?
Absolutely. You know, the border is priority. You know, that's what we hear all the time. The economy is a priority. You know, again, I was just talking to somebody the other night about we're buying Halloween candy. You know, they're buying less and less Halloween candy now just because of the price of everything that's gone up. And it's totally laid at the feet of this Biden-Harris administration, and we're going to continue to fight that as much as we can.
Well, you heard it from Congressman Mike Ezell, some of his priorities and his platform if reelected to a second term in the House in just a few days. Congressman, once again, we do appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
We also reached out to Craig Raybon, the Democratic candidate for the 4th Congressional District, to appear on this show. We did not hear back from him. However, on his Facebook page, he has an outline on some of the things he would focus on if elected to the House of Representatives. Specifically, he mentions raising pay wages, more employment opportunities for South Mississippians, women's rights, and health care as some top priorities. Back to the race for U.S. Senate here in the Magnolia State now. Attorney and Army veteran Ty Pinkins is looking to become the first Democrat to win a Senate race in Mississippi since the early 1980s. He joins us now to talk about the final days of the campaign and where he stands on the issues. Mr. Pinkins, thank you for coming in studio tonight. We do appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'll let you have the floor to talk about your campaign and the issues. Once again, you'll look at camera 2 on the far side, and your 2:30 starts now.
Look, I'm a veteran. I've served for 21 years in our military proudly, 3 combat tours over 36 months at war. I am a lawyer, and for the last 22 months, I have been going all over our state to all 82 counties, talking to community members about what's important to them, but more importantly, listening to the issues that are important to Mississippians: health care, our economy, higher paying jobs, our children's education, and so much more. And we all know that in 5 days, absolutely everything is on the line in this election. Our democracy itself, and that's why I'm running for United States Senate, because I think we deserve better than what we have on the federal level right now.
Yeah, and Ty, when it comes to crisscrossing the Magnolia State, you know, what are you hearing from Mississippi voters, South Mississippi voters too, that you've talked to?
It's a big state. It's a diverse state, and hearing from South Mississippi voters down in Jackson County, Harrison County, Hancock County are the same things that I'm hearing all over the state. People are concerned about quality, affordable health care in our state. Women are concerned about making their own health care decisions in this state. People are concerned about their kids getting a quality education. And I've been leading this campaign saying that I will fight to make sure that women can make their own health care decisions. And one of the questions I always get asked is, am I pro-life or am I pro-choice? Before I'm either one of those things, I'm pro-woman. I'm pro-life woman, making her pro-life decision for her pro-life self. And at the same time, I'm pro-choice woman, making her pro-choice decision for her pro-choice self. That's a decision between a woman, her doctor, and God.
Well, anything else you want to say before we let you go to Mississippi voters right now?
Look, I love being down here on the Gulf Coast, and I promise you I will work for you, Mississippi, if you vote for me on Tuesday.
Well, Ty Pinkins, the Democratic candidate for United States Senate here in Mississippi, thank you for coming in studio once again tonight. We do appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Well, on the other hand, Senator Roger Wicker is hoping to keep the decades-long streak of Republican Senate wins in Mississippi going. The senator was unable to make it tonight for this broadcast. His campaign sent us this campaign ad he's been airing that outlines some of his policy platforms. We're going to air that ad now in its entirety.
Our Senator Roger Wicker, an Air Force veteran and the top Republican on the Armed Services Committee, Wicker has delivered for Mississippi. A champion of Reagan's peace through strength, Wicker's leading the fight to build more naval warships, modernize our military, and push back against China. Wicker's push for more Border Patrol agents, drones to catch illegals, and 700 miles of reinforced fencing, defending our border, putting Mississippi first. That's Roger Wicker.
I'm Roger Wicker, and I approve this message.
Well, it's been a good start so far to this WXXV Votes election special on this Halloween night. As we head to break, we are going to take a live look at the studio right now. You see me on camera. We're going to go right back to the green room, though, because as you will see, we've got a lot of candidates, local candidates, too, that you'll hear from very soon as we move forward in this broadcast. Stay with us, South Mississippi.
And now, your weather authority.
Welcome back, South Mississippi, and thanks for sticking around. Let's go ahead and bounce on through this forecast pretty quickly because Grant has more for you shortly. But here's what's going on in your weather around the Mississippi Gulf Coast and around the region. First thing, it always helps to give you a nice, beautiful shot out there. That view courtesy of the Golden Nugget this evening. Temperatures out the door in the low to mid 70s. Some areas like Gulfport and Biloxi still hanging a little bit warmer in the upper 70s tonight. Remember, those strong to severe thunderstorms still possible over the next few hours, mainly in the areas in yellow. Us here in southern Mississippi not really included in some of that severe risk, but we could see a few more showers and or thunderstorms throughout the remainder of the evening. Throughout the evening, most of the showers and thunderstorms have stayed further towards the west. A few of those hanging around Picayune, which has racked up the most rainfall by far on the Mississippi Gulf Coast over the past 24 hours. Here's a current setup of the radar closer to home here, our southern 6 counties in Mississippi. As I said, most of the rainfall further towards the north and west, just to the south of Bogalusa, heading towards Picayune at the moment. But the good thing is, I don't even have to zoom all the way over there. You can see pretty clearly that we are missing the majority of heavy rainfall further into Louisiana and then further towards the north and west as well. Let's go ahead and give you a quick look at that 7-day forecast. You've got Halloween heading into the evening. Remember, those clocks change into the weekend, and then next week you get to exercise your right to vote, and then as we will tomorrow night, next Friday, you end the week off as you always do with Ansley and Jevin.
Up next in tonight's special broadcast, a conversation with Mississippi's Secretary of State. We're going to be talking about information you need to know before you cast your ballot next week. Stick around. WXXV Votes Election Special Broadcast continues. We're taking you to break with another live shot of the White House in D.C.
Quick mic check real quick.
All right.
All right,
What do
you
you
can
want
just
me to
say
do?
your name and sentence or something.
All right, Ian Baker.
Chief Assistant District Attorney.
You're good. Jennifer.
Right here. Yes, I'm right here.
All right. You can give a quick mic check too. Just say your name and some other stuff.
Jennifer Schlegel. I'm from Gulfport, Mississippi. Mic check, mic check.
Good. All right.
Amy St. Pay.
Nice to meet you, Amy.
Nice to meet you.
You can do a quick mic check and.
Amy St. Pay, running for Mississippi Court of Appeal.
Welcome back, South Mississippi. Organizing and preparing for Election Day is a massive undertaking for officials here in Mississippi and the other 49 states. I spoke to Mississippi Secretary of State Michael Watson this week talking about what you, the voter, can expect when you arrive to your precinct Tuesday. Welcome back, South Mississippi. We're joined now in studio by Mississippi Secretary of State Michael Watson. Since we're just days out from Election Day, we're talking about what you, the voter, needs to know before you head to the polls. Secretary Watson, thanks for joining us.
Very welcome. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So when it comes to voting, especially organizing an election for all of the counties here in Mississippi and for your office, it is definitely a big event. We all know that things can happen over the course of voting, early voting, absentee voting, and on the day of. So what do Mississippi voters need to know before they cast their ballot?
You know, one of the big things, speaking of, it's great that we have communication with our clerks. We speak weekly now leading up into the election to make sure we're all on the same page. I did an 82 county tour to visit with our clerks and commissioners to make sure they understand this takes a team. So to your point, behind the scenes, a lot of work goes on. Going into the election, I encourage folks, number one, to do your research. Make sure you understand, let's go take a look at my sample ballot and let's research these candidates. You can do that at My Election Day. It's a tool on our website. You can go to y'allvote.ms, go to the website there and click on My Election Day. You enter your address and it'll populate. You click on your address there and it shows all of your locally elected officials. It shows your sample ballot. It shows your precinct location, really just to get you prepared to go into Election Day, to make sure that you understand, hey, here's what the ballot's going to look like. Let me do my research so I'm ready to go vote.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've talked about in this broadcast so far, and something that people will realize, is depending on where you live, you're going to have a lot of items on your ballot, not just the presidential election or Senate or Congress too.
That's exactly right. So, a lot of times we get lost in this presidential, and understand it's very important. But you also have state level races. You've got Supreme Court, you've got Court of Appeals, you're going to have some school board elections, you're going to have some elections commissioner elections. So again, these races on the local level, oftentimes we kind of tend to overlook them. But those are the ones that actually impact your life much more quickly than it would at the federal level. So I encourage people really to take the time, understand those local races that you're going to have to vote on. And that's a key going back to, making sure you see your sample ballot. Knowing what's on the ballot in your area is very important.
Yeah, and real quick before we let you go, what are your thoughts on the state of voting here in Mississippi heading into Election Day?
I'm really proud of the work we've done over the last 4 years. We look back at 2020, a lot of questions took place then. Mississippi did a great job in 2020. That said, we worked with the legislature as well as doing some things in our office to make it even better. So I'm very confident in the elections process here in Mississippi. I have no questions that are lingering out there. The integrity of the process is strong and solid here in Mississippi.
Well, Secretary Michael Watson, thank you for joining us once again and letting us know about all these different resources.
You got it.
Yeah. Stick around, South Mississippi. Our election special broadcast continues right after these messages. Marco, did you get any B-roll?
The moment is almost here. Election Day in South Mississippi. And the stakes couldn't be higher. You, the voters, are determined to make a difference. Stand in long lines to cast your ballot and make sure your voice will be heard. No matter who walks away with a win, you, the voters, are stepping up to be part of democracy. The real power is in your hands. Our special pre-election day coverage starts right now on your local election headquarters. This is WXXV News 25, Election 2024.
Well, South Mississippi, we are about a half hour into this WXXV Votes election special on this Halloween night. You know, aside from the presidential race and the congressional races on the ballot that we've talked about so far, there are some local races you'll get to vote on that have an impact in terms of governance here on the coast. Now, in quick succession over the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to talk to the three candidates vying to become the next Court of Appeals judge for District 5, Position 2. Our first conversation for that race is the man right next to me, Ian Baker. And Ian, as always, thank you for coming in and taking some time out of your night.
Happy to be here, Grant.
Yeah, so Ian, you've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You'll be on camera 2 over there in the distance. Tell us a little bit about your campaign and the issues that matter to you.
Yes, Grant. So this journey to the Court of Appeals race started for me with a phone call from my former boss and the current judge on the Court of Appeals, Judge Joel Smith. I currently serve as the Chief Assistant District Attorney for Harrison, Hancock, and Stone County, and Judge Smith hired me into the District Attorney's office. And he called me in December and told me that he would be retiring from the Court of Appeals this year and would not seek re-election, and he encouraged me to seek the position. As I discussed it with my wife and prayed about it for many days, I became convinced that I have the right qualifications for this position. And the reason I believe that I am the most qualified candidate for this position is because I have the most jury trial experience. And the Court of Appeals hears appeals from your trial courts like Circuit and Chancery Court, and about 70% of those appeals are from jury trials. I have tried more than 60 jury trials, far more than either one of my opponents, and particularly in the area of criminal law. Criminal appeals make up the single largest subject matter area of all types of cases heard by the Court of Appeals, making up about 55%, as much as 55% of the court's docket in any given year. I have tried more than 50 felony jury trials, including aggravated assaults, armed robberies, and murder cases. I've tried nearly 20 murder cases. My two opponents have never tried a felony criminal case. So I think it's important that we elect a judge that has experience trying jury trials, and particularly criminal jury trials. I was also a judicial clerk at the Mississippi Court of Appeals from 2006 to 2007, presiding Judge Bill Myers. And I'm the only candidate running that has previously worked at the Mississippi Court of Appeals or has experience writing appellate opinions. So the appellate experience matters, criminal experience matters, but I was also in civil practice for 7 years, and I actually have more civil trial experience than any of my opponents as far as jury trial experience. So I believe that the combination of criminal jury trial experience, civil jury trial experience, and appellate experience makes me the most qualified candidate for the position of Court of Appeals judge.
Well, you heard it there, South Mississippi, from Ian Baker, Court of Appeals District 5 candidate. Ian, once again, we appreciate you taking the time to outline the issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as one candidate walks off the screen, another candidate is going to walk on. A candidate that has experience serving as Chancery Court Judge for Harrison, Hancock, and Stone counties. Jennifer Schlogel joins me now to talk about her platform. And Ms. Schlogel, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
you will look at camera too. You've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds like all the other candidates. So tell us about your campaign and the issues that matter to you.
Well, as you said, I've been serving as Chancery Court Judge for 14 years. This is my 4th term, so I've been elected 4 times for Harrison, Hancock, and Stone counties. And it is a very rewarding job, very busy job, but it has prepared me with that judicial experience to go on to the next level, which would be the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals is hearing cases from the trial courts, and that's where I am trying cases as a judge. So while both of my opponents are good attorneys and we all have experience in the courtroom, I am the only one who actually has judicial experience. We are, after all, running for a judicial position for Judge of Court of Appeals. We're not running for Attorney General, for example. So I have that experience, and of my cases that I have tried that have gone on appeal as a trial court judge, I've been upheld by the Court of Appeals and Mississippi Supreme Court 32 of 33 times. So I have a record of making sound legal decisions. I know how to search for the right answer, research the law, and rule according to the law. And so it is important to me that I continue serving a greater number of people that I can in the state, and not just my individual community. So I would humbly and respectfully ask for your vote on Tuesday. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, and we appreciate your time tonight and outlining all of your campaign priorities. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and our Court of Appeals conversations tonight are rounded out by a candidate with more experience. And so, Jennifer, as you go off, we're going to welcome another candidate on to the set right now, someone that is known in Jackson County. Joining us to talk about her candidacy now is Amy St. Pay. And Amy, thank you for coming in tonight as well.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, so camera 2 right in the distance right there. Your 2 minutes and 30 seconds starts now.
All right. I decided to run for this judicial position because I wanted to continue to use my 22 years of legal and judicial experience to be an asset to the Court of Appeals and to provide value. I have been an attorney for 22 years. I have extensive work in civil litigation. I have criminal law experience, and I have judicial experience. While all the candidates in this race are highly qualified and educated, there is a difference, and the difference is our experience and our perspective. As a civil litigation attorney and a judge and knowledge of criminal law and criminal procedure, I am the only candidate that can bring a diverse perspective to the bench. You may ask yourself, why is that important? It's important because if you come before the court, you want a judge to see a case from all perspectives, not just as a judicial perspective or a prosecutor's perspective. I have been a judge, I have been a defense attorney, I have been a plaintiff's attorney. I can see it from all angles, and that will produce a fair result for anyone that comes before me on the court. I am Amy St. Pay, and I'm asking for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Well, Amy, thank you for that as well, and thank you for your time. We
Absolutely.
had a rapid-fire block of Court of Appeals candidates this evening, and of course, we've got more WXXV team coverage still to come in this election special broadcast. Conversations on another judicial race on the ballot continue as we roll right along in our broadcast as we head to break. A live shot from the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. tonight.
Yes.
Do a mic check. Just say your name and just maybe count to 1 to 5.
David's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Don.
Your hand.
Okay. You say your name and then just count to 1 to 5.
Dawn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Say your name again.
And now, your weather authority.
Welcome back, South Mississippi. What we're looking at on your screen right now is rainfall to the south and west of our area and all the way through the western sides, bordering our viewing area and up to the north as well. What that means, we're seeing heavy rainfall, showers, thunderstorms, the whole 9 yards out in that general direction. But here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, we've remained calm and clear. Now, the main driver behind these showers and thunderstorms remains a cold front that looks to be stalling out, which we saw a few minutes ago. Let's go ahead and bounce around the area, and I'll actually spread this radar out just a little bit for you and show you what's going on out there in just a moment. Let's go ahead and move towards the west, and what you'll see, I'll move some of these showers and thunderstorms closer into view. And as I do that, what you'll see is these showers and thunderstorms, as I mentioned, remain for the most part out of the area. And the reason for that remains that cold front that's stalled out further towards the west. We're just going to take a look at that cold front in just a moment, but let's go ahead and talk about the tropics momentarily. We'll jump into this and give you an idea because we have received a few questions on social media. Here's what we're seeing today in comparison to yesterday. Two different shades now added on your screen. Now there's a yellow shade up here that I wouldn't pay too much attention to, but this shade here, this yellow shade, and the orange shade to the south and west of that are what you need to focus on. What's most likely going to occur is some assimilation of the two areas coming together down in the Caribbean, and that area most likely would be in this orange shade here. Now, if something was to form, there are two different factors that would affect what's going on right here in your Mississippi Power Tropical Outlook. Number one, there's a high pressure system here, and that high pressure system provides a blocker of sorts to whatever forms and keeps it from moving this general direction. And then you can really see the frontal system here, all those clouds lined up because of that. That also provides a blocker. Now, if that frontal system pulls more so this direction and actually makes it through our area, then it would draw whatever forms further towards the east. But because that frontal system is stalling out here, this frontal system not only gets weaker, but it has a much smaller effect on whatever comes out of the Caribbean. And by whatever comes out of the Caribbean, I'm calling it that and being so loose with the term because we have nothing there in terms of official storms, named storms that have formed yet. Remember, this is just a level 2 out of 3 here on your scale for formation opportunity over the next 7 days per issued by the National Hurricane Center. This area of orange here most likely would spit something out over the next 7 to 10 days if it formed. It would probably move in this general location, but what would help us out are those water temperatures, which we'll take a look at through the rest of the evening, and then I'll show you those again coming up in our 10 o'clock broadcast. But what we're seeing here is warmer water temperatures in these locations, which is why there's two different areas of concern. We get a little bit cooler as you move further north into the Gulf of Mexico. Neither area is relatively cool, speaking about those water temperatures, but that's generally what's going on in your Mississippi Power Tropical Outlook currently. Nothing to fear over the next 7 days, but definitely keep an eye on it, and your weather authority will as well.
Thank you, Trey. It is almost 9:40 on this Halloween night, and guess what? We're not done yet here on our WXXV Vote Election Special. State Supreme Court candidates are here in our green room to talk about their platforms. We definitely want you to hear from them after this quick timeout. You see that activity live now in the WXXV Green Room. Stay with us, South Mississippi. Welcome back, everyone. Another judicial race you'll see on your ballot Tuesday is that for State Supreme Court District 2. It's a district that encompasses southern Mississippi. 2 candidates are vying for the seat this year. Our first conversation tonight is with candidate David Sullivan. And David, thank you for coming in tonight. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so like I told you before the break, camera 2 in the distance right there. You've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds to make your campaign pitch to voters. So there you go.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your time tonight. So I am a 4th generation Mississippi lawyer. I am trying to become a 2nd generation Mississippi Supreme Court justice. My father held this position from 1984 until the year 2000 when he died of lung cancer and was presiding justice. I had a front row seat to how the court works during that period of time. And when I was a student at Millsaps and even when I was at Ole Miss Law School, I spent a great deal of time at the court learning how it worked. And it was something, it's been a goal of mine throughout my career to follow in his footsteps and to serve in this position. So for the last 30 years, I've practiced law here on the Gulf Coast after growing up in Hattiesburg. I did 16 years of civil insurance defense litigation, trial work for some of the biggest corporations in the world like Walmart and General Motors. I also became a prosecutor and was a full-time prosecutor for a couple of years before I opened my own law firm. And in 2012, I opened Sullivan Law Firm in Gulfport, where I've had a successful practice now since that time. I primarily focus in criminal defense work. I also, for the last 6 years, have served as municipal judge for the city of D'Iberville, where we handle a lot of very important cases. And as municipal judges, I believe we have the most impact on the most number of people as judges in the legal system. So my experience as a prosecutor, a defense lawyer, and a judge makes me a well-balanced, well-rounded candidate for this office. And I feel that my experience makes me qualified to hold the position, and I will represent everyone regardless of their affiliation, regardless of their special interests. I'm here to serve the people of District 2, and I would appreciate your vote and appreciate your support next Tuesday.
Well, you heard it all from Supreme Court candidate David Sullivan tonight. Thank you so much again for coming in and telling us about your platform.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, on the other hand, the incumbent for this Supreme Court seat wants to continue her tenure on the state's high court. Justice Dawn Beam coming in the shot right now to talk about her priorities. Justice Beam, thank you for being here tonight. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's an honor to serve on the Supreme Court. I've been on the court for 9 years, and during that time I've either written or joined over 1,000 opinions, and during that time all of those opinions that I joined were strict constitutional interpretations of the law. I don't believe in putting your hand on the scale of justice. I believe that judges simply interpret the law, and so that is what I've done the last 9 years. I have been endorsed by the Republican Party in large part because of the track record that I have. I bring to the court a lot of unique experiences. I'm the only former Chancery judge on the court. I also have served as a prosecutor in my home county of Lamar County prior to being a Chancery judge. I'm also the only female on the court. Folks often ask me, do you enjoy being on the court? And to be honest, it is a very stressful thing. There's no room for error at the Supreme Court. And so it's just imperative that the 9 of us come together and review cases and make the very best decision for all of Mississippi. And so that's what you get with Dawn Beam. And I hope to continue my work there on the Supreme Court. And so that's why I ask for your vote on November the 5th.
Well, that is the pitch from incumbent Supreme Court Justice Dawn Beam tonight, live in studio. Justice Beam, as with all the candidates, we do thank you for coming in. I know it's Halloween night, but we really do appreciate your time.
Well, it's like I told you, you either run unopposed or scared, so Halloween night is an appropriate time to have this.
A Halloween political joke. Well, thank you again, Justice Beam.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stick around, South Mississippi. We have still so much more to come tonight in this broadcast. We're going to be talking about some of the other races that you may see depending on where you live here in South Mississippi. Hyper local races on the ballot. And then after that, we'll check back in with our political analysts as we wrap up this election special broadcast. But of course, as we head to break, another live look from the White House. Either Vice President Kamala Harris or President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, will be in that house as of January 20th, 2025. We'll just have to wait and see after next Tuesday. The political talk continues right now, South Mississippi. Secretary of State Michael Watson alluded to this in our conversation earlier on in this broadcast. There are other hyperlocal offices on your ballot this year, depending on the area you live in your county. We're going to check in on our 6 southern Mississippi counties now. Starting in Hancock County, there are also races for election commissions, Districts 1, 3, and 5, Hancock County School Board, District 3 and 4, as well as the Bay-Waveland School District Waveland trustee election. Election Commission seats 1, 3, and 5 are also up for election in Harrison County, as well as Harrison County School Board seats 3 and 4, plus a seat on the Pass Christian School Board for voters in that city. Moving on now to Jackson County. 2 other races you may see there are for Election Commissioner District 3 and a seat on the Ocean Springs School Board. Heading north to Pearl River County, there are races for Election Commission seats 1, 3, and 5 there, plus Pearl River County School Board seats 3 and 4. Also, the Lamar County School District serves parts of northern Pearl River County, so some voters that are included in that school district may see a bond election on their ballot. Next door in Stone County, Election Commission seats there, 1, 3, and 5 are also up, along with Stone County School Board seats 3 and 4. Last but not least, in George County, like in our other counties, Election Commission seats 1, 3, and 5 are on the ballot, plus school board seats 3, 4, and 5. Now, also, George County voters will see a proposition to approve or reject a 3% hotel tax on lodging facilities in the county located outside Lucedale city limits. A reminder, in each county, only some of the races mentioned above will appear on your ballot depending on which districts for school board you live, which election commission districts you live, and things like that. So do keep that in mind. And in the days to come, the Secretary of State's Y'all Vote website is a resource you can use to check your voter registration status, precinct information, sample ballots, and much more. It's up on your screen right now. We're giving you a live look at what that website layout looks like. Now, there's also a hotline, an email address you can use if you have any questions you need answered. Like I said, that's all on the Y'all Vote website put together by the Secretary of State's office. Our broadcast wraps up right after these messages with a final look at the state of the races here in South Mississippi. And on the national front, you see Charles and Howie getting ready to appear back on set with me. Stay with us, South Mississippi. We'll also talk about our 10 o'clock newscast coming up over on WXXV NBC.
We're actually, we're doing paper, rock, scissors as to who's going to get which candidate.
How much time are we going to
For this interview? Am I getting paid my SAG rates for this?
All right, 2:30. Okay. Got to stick to the schedule on it. Charles, can I see your mic real quick?
Yeah.
Howie's on 5.
He's on 5?
Yeah.
All right.
Am I 5?
Yeah.
Nah. Howie's on 5. All right.
I'm 5.
Charles on 4. Howie's on 5. All right, Charles,
All right,
give us
so,
the mic check real quick.
yeah, we'll keep your statements.
Yes,
pretty
sir. How are you guys doing? Charles?
All right, we've covered a lot of ground tonight with a lot of candidates, so we're bringing back our political analysts, Charles and Howie, now with some final statements before Tuesday's elections. And guys, Howie, I'll start with you too. I mean, what do Mississippi voters really need to know before they head to the polls?
Well, there's a lot of local elections they need to be aware of. I recommend they do some research and find out who's running. We got some chancery clerk and circuit clerk races, so judges races. So pay attention to what else is on the ballot besides just President of the United States. Even congressional candidates. That's what I ask them to be careful of.
Yeah, and I know, Charles, you know, the presidential race is the big ticket item. It brings out a lot of people, you know, especially for, you know, an election like this where the stakes are high. A lot of voters, I know, feel that way. So what would you say to Mississippi voters?
Well, especially with the judicial races, being that they're nonpartisan, get to know the candidates as best as you can, because the judicial races are a stepping stone to some degree. From a Mississippi standpoint, I think if Kamala gets 45%, she's in.
Could be, but I still want, if I'm on election night and I'm paying attention, I want to find those North Carolina returns.
Yep.
I want to see where they are. If Kamala Harris wins North Carolina, she's going to have a very, very good night.
It's amazing. Everybody's talking about Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But it does come down to North Carolina and Georgia. And if Trump wins both, then she has to have the blue wall. Altogether.
And I think 2020 kind of changed the electoral map in so many ways. You know, Georgia wants a red state, Arizona too. You know?
But you think about Georgia. Think about in 2022, they've elected a Democrat for Senate both times and Republican for governor and Republican statewide.
But that was a rebuttal to Trump. Those anti-Trump statements.
And I wonder how much of that anti-Trump statement is still going to carry through this year.
I don't think it's going to carry this year. I don't.
You don't think?
I think it's going to be. Georgia's a red state, in my opinion.
Georgia is a red state, but I think Trump is getting that 9-year itch. I mean, people are getting tired of it.
Well,
same old politics.
Pay attention on Tuesday night on WXXV. We'll be here and we'll see what happens.
And I promise you and I will have lunch after.
Well, gentlemen, I mean, you said it best, you know, so many different possibilities and paths to getting to 270 electoral votes, the magic number to win the presidency. And, you know, we are going to continue, like you alluded to, conversations on Tuesday night, election night. We're going to have much more, and we'll tell you more about that in the days to come. But I really appreciate you guys sticking around for the entire broadcast to talk about all of this. So,
well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, gentlemen, thanks again. Well, we are wrapping up tonight. We've covered a lot in this past hour, like I said. I hope it's been an informative informative broadcast for you as you prepare to make your choice at the polls next Tuesday. Please get out to vote. Your voice matters. And once again, flip the channel right now to WXXV NBC. Once we leave the air here on Fox, we've got a recap of the day's events across South Mississippi for WXXV News 25 at 10, including a recap of trick-or-treating, the MGCCC Lineman Rodeo, and of course sports with Jeff and a couple of other things. We'll recap this election broadcast too. Once again, South Mississippi, thanks for joining us tonight for WXXV Votes.